how are you? I know your fishing is good.
Actually, as soon as we get done, I'm going fishing.
Yeah, just, bring a megaphone and hang a sign that says "Gone fishing."
I do, I do a hell of a lot of fishing, don't I? Elizabeth and I fish almost every day. Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
It's
You
kind of
know,
like therapy, you know.
I mean, it's like you're 15
Usually,
again, right? I mean, to be able to go
usually,
fishing
yeah,
every day.
exactly. Usually around 4 or 5, we go hit a pond or a lake or a reservoir, and we bring a couple flasks of whiskey or whatever, and we just chill out and relax and catch fish.
So I got your last two texts. The TikTok diner. That's the TikTok. I think had some legal trouble. The son-in-law killed the father-in-law, and
Oh, is that right?
some scandalous behavior. And then there was discussion that it was there was some criminal activity going on there. I don't know. It's a long, long story, and what little I did know, I forgot because it was a while back. But next time we should meet at Rutt's Hut and have a show from there.
I think we need to do an on-location show from Rutt's Hut. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So Kate, just for these people here, the producer and that's the people. Kevin and I grew up 10 minutes apart from each other, and we met about 8 years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, we never knew each other when we were in Jersey, but we met when I lived on the Oregon coast, I think.
Yeah,
And
that's exactly right.
been friends ever since.
It just goes to show you how defective New Jersey is. It's very inefficient and very defective. So
It's by design.
just, I love the idea of you being here and getting it to actually happen. So, we talk about everything and anything on this show because I love to talk. I can't resolve anything, but I just like to talk about stuff. Everything from religion to local stupidity, politics, money, corruption, narco terrorism. How to be
Happiness.
Yeah, happiness, how to be a good neighbor. Of course, it's hard to find, but, in theory, these things are really good, right? So
How long are we going to go? How long are we going to go for today, Al?
we could talk as long as you can talk with me. It's because if I have to and it runs a little bit too long for one show, we could cut it into two. So it's more important that I get to talk to you. That generally, when I do a show by myself, it's about 20 minutes of me just blabbering and complaining and bitching. And since my parents are passed away, nobody else will listen to me. So that's why I do the podcast.
I love listening to you, and I always come away a better man.
I hope something good happens with it. I mean, really. So I've been trying to make myself a better man for too long. I can't attach myself to the beginning anymore. I'm like, anyway, so the other thing is I really love to talk about news, and most of the news is one extreme or the other, so it's really easy to talk about. It's miserable and also fun to talk about.
Yeah.
But, truth in general is an old, worn out, theory. It's being buried farther and farther and farther into the deepest depths of our world. So, I bet it.
You haven't hit the record button yet, have you?
I hope so. I really don't know. But I will tell you that, I have a problem. And this morning, I was telling somebody, I woke up this morning and, after hearing a tiny bit of news, reading a tiny bit of news, I woke up this morning thinking, am I in the movie? And I asked this gentleman that I was talking to, I said, do you know the movie I'm thinking about? And he said, no. And I said, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Like, so, and then the other thing we do on the show is we talk about either public spectacles or just things that make everyday people angry, right? Like, what pisses you off? Is it the way people ask for a tip, or they're rude? What, kids screaming on an airline, throwing their food in a restaurant? What pisses you off? What gets you going? So that's also open for discussion. But I'm going to start out by saying, Kevin, I hope you could. This is my Starbucks cup, right?
I see it.
They call it a Starbucks personal cup, and the significance of it today is that I ordered a device that pictured about this size, and I was going to use it. It's for medicine storage for traveling. It's a medicine container for traveling. So you know that I take an awful lot of medication.
Yeah.
And I'm always looking for the right device to pack up and travel with. I saw this device, and it has the dates on it, and I ordered 2 of them. Okay, and the reason I ordered 2 of them is I know that if it's Monday through Saturday or Sunday through what Monday, whatever the fuck they do in terms of labeling it, I would need 2 for morning and evening.
Yeah.
Right? I thought it was coming in this size.
It's a little smaller.
Well, this is how it was represented, and maybe there was some reference to the size in the rest of the small print, but of course I didn't see that. I just saw it and envisioned this size. Well, it came this size, and I could tell you that this device in each section could probably hold 3 big aspirins, and that's not fucking good for me. I got 20-something pills I got to take every morning. I would need this for one day, right? Morning. Anyway, so this kind of shit gets me pissed off. Everything that is on the internet, or not a lot of stuff is fake news. So Trump has that right. It's one of the few things he does have right, okay? And now that he's created an environment where everything is fake news, regular people, for regular transactions, get fucked. There's just no way around it. There's no truth in advertising, no truth in government, no truth in virtually everything. So the reason I'm saying this is you're one of the few guys I know that could cure me of my mental illness by giving me some advice here.
I think I might be kind of an odd guest on your show today, Alan. And the reason why, and maybe it's just my quirky sense of humor. Your show is called the Angry Alan Podcast. But a number of years ago, I kind of got tired of being angry.
Hey,
Now,
this is
I'm not saying you should be tired of being. I'm just telling you from my perspective. And I started realizing in most situations, anger doesn't serve me well. And I started noticing that when I'm angry, it's the mental equivalent of doing a couple of shots of tequila and trying to drive. So I've never made any good decisions in a state of anger. So I hope I don't disappoint your audience.
no, you can't.
Or
No, you can't, because actually, the truth is I can make anybody angry, but if I wanted to. But I think it's important to talk about anger, because although you have reached a milestone of consciousness, right, and awareness, it's almost like the Buddha that I don't have in me, the Buddhist that I don't have in me, right? And you have that. You have some of that, enough of it. You probably have enough of it for a lot of people, but probably not enough for me, because I do admit there are things that anger me, that frustrate the fuck out of me. And, this platform is for everything. So I can learn from everybody, which I never believed could happen. But now, in my old age, I understand that I really can learn from everybody something. I can learn something.
Can I throw a thought on that? Can I throw a thought on that, Alan?
Oh, you could speak as much as you want. Just talk over me if you have to.
So you and I have known each other now for a number of years, and I think you probably have picked up on me being very, very simple. I'm a very simple guy. Simple doesn't mean stupid, it just means simple. And I started, I'm kind of weird. I guess I'm letting you and whoever's watching this in the future, hello people from the future, know that I'm as you and I had this conversation, I think it'll become apparent that I really don't like to make things complex. So years ago, I started noticing that all anybody really wants is to be happy. Everybody on earth just wants to be happy. Now, how they think they're going to go about doing that or attaining that or achieving that might look 1,000 different ways. But it helps me to remember that every human being that I'm interacting with, whether it's face to face, online, text messages, emails, smoke signals, carrier pigeons, whatever, at the end of the day, they just all want to be happy. So because I'm simple, I said to myself, well, I should probably investigate happiness. Because if that's really what I want, maybe I should investigate, where does this happiness thing come from? And I'm not by any means some enlightened Buddha, but I've kind of cracked the code to a certain degree on how to be happy most of the time, regardless of our situation. And that doesn't mean I don't have down days or bad times. I do. They just happen much less frequently. And when I get down, I sober up and snap a bit faster. What did you hear in that, Alan?
Well, you know, it's a very positive message, okay, and it's realistic to the extent. Well, one, you believe it, and two, it's a worthy, but to me, a lofty goal, right? Like there's too much other stuff that's self-evident that puts a lot of pressure on that ability to think as you do. And I think a lot of people, like some people, like when some people's back is up against the wall, right? They shoot because they have nowhere else to go, right? And I tell my kids all the time, if your back's up against the wall for whatever, whether it's a school project or work or a boss, whatever, you're feeling like your back is up against the wall, your choices are limited.
Right.
And if you go sideways, one side or the other, it's still the same. Your back is against the wall. So your only choice is to go forward. And that means you have to be mentally able to absorb whatever it does take to go forward, whether it's happier or worse, right? There's, truth or consequences, I guess. And the only choice that I've ever made is to go forward, leaving behind my separate large and small fuck-ups,
Yeah.
And as hard as I may try to not relive those previous fuck-ups, to some extent I do, and that's just maybe a little bit of who I am. Doesn't mean I'm good or bad. Okay?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but I do think that there's a fair amount of evil in the world. I do see things most of the time a little more black and white than gray. But I also realize that it's not really good to hate, just like, and maybe some people compare anger to hate. I don't have any energy for hate, but I can get angry and frustrated. And that's my biggest human flaw. All right. So the reason I'm doing this podcast, it's it's a platform for venting and for other people to come on, talk about what pisses them off or why they're not pissed off, because it's all interesting to me, number one. And I think if you're really an optimist, that's great, share it. And if you're not an optimist and you're a pessimist, then share it. Maybe you'll be less pessimistic. But to me, I don't want to choose that. I just want to keep moving forward, doing as little damage as I can.
Yeah. Well, you're very resilient. Um, yeah. So this is probably going to sound, I'm going to say some things, Alan, that probably will sound woo-woo, but I'm not trying to be woo-woo. What I started noticing years ago was that the more I understand how something works, the more effectively and efficiently I can use it.
But that means you know how to read.
Yeah.
All right. There you go.
So then I started noticing that every experience I have in life, by definition, has to process through my mind. Sometimes I ask people, do you think it's possible to have an experience that bypasses the mind? And initially, that might sound like a weird question, but it's actually a very simple question. And if a person is honest, they will come to the realization that it's by definition impossible to have an experience that somehow bypasses our mind. It has to be processed through the mind in order for it to be acknowledged as an experience. So once I kind of figured that out, I said, well, then I need to learn a little bit about how my mind works. Because to the extent that I understand how it works, to that extent, I will use it efficiently and effectively. So I started studying, how does the mind work? And studied, psychology a little bit, studied things not in traditional psychology. And I started to realize, and this goes back to something I said maybe 5 minutes ago when I said, don't believe everything you think. Most people spend their entire life studying the content of their thoughts without really having a basic understanding of the nature of thought. Now, if you really think about that, it's just the blind leading the blind. They're just comparing movies. You made that question before. What movie was it? One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right? So what I started just watching my thoughts. I know that sounds weird, but I started noticing that my thoughts were kind of like clouds in the sky. They come and they go. But I also noticed that no cloud, no bird, no airplane, no UFO, no Elon Musk's rocket ship ever scars the sky. They pass through the sky, but they leave no permanent mark on the sky. And I'm using that as a metaphor because the way it looks to me is I am the sky through which clouds pass, the clouds being thought. And as I watch the thoughts come and go, some of them make a lot of sense and some of them are just totally nuts. But if I watch it the way I would watch a movie in a movie theater, and I'm not saying that people should be robotic or unemotional, I'm not saying that at all. I'm actually saying the opposite. I'm saying until a person understands a little bit about how the mind works, they're going to be riding an emotional roller coaster 24/7. Just look around at the world. Most people are riding this crazy white knuckle hanging on by their fingernails roller coaster because they're so affected by every damn thought that comes in and out of their mind, and it's like a Pavlovian
Okay.
dog.
So can I ask you? Can I ask you? This too shall pass, right? This too shall pass,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and I think that is a really critical element to have hope and even faith to some extent,
Yes.
because otherwise there's serious mental and potentially physical harm that comes as a result of that. So I agree with you, but I'm a lot more defective than you are. It just in general, like you're very well read, you're philosophical, you have an ideological kind of thing, like let bygones be bygones. Let's learn from our mistakes, and all of these other pretty positive cliched things, but they're real. In practice, they're real, and that's why people say them, because in practice they're real.
Yeah.
In life, they're real.
And I tell people, I'll be probably the most polite, positive guy you'll ever meet until you give me a reason not to be, because I was born and raised in New Jersey where they eat their young.
Right.
The moment you give me a reason not to be, I'll spin around. I'll go Jersey on your ass so fast it'll make your head spin.
Like I tell people, I had a great friend from Jersey, and he passed away about 5 years ago. Great guy. I loved him.
Yeah.
And we went through school together, and he was this short, stocky Italian guy. But if I showed you the picture he took by the pool, the swimming pool, and he's sitting there like he looks like the Mafia Don. It's a perfect picture of a Mafia Don, on vacation in Miami or something. Anyway, so I look and whenever I want to get really fucking out of whack with somebody, I just show them the picture. And I show them, it's on my phone, like almost like a screensaver. But
Right.
I show them the picture, and they're like, "Why you show me the picture?" I said, "You have to understand, I'm at this stage of my life where I have no problems at all. Because if I do, I just call my friend Jimmy." And they look at me, and they're like,
Right.
"Is you nuts? Are you threatening me? Or what, what's this all about?" And
Right.
it's just a deflective device, because I really don't like being angry, and I'd rather talk about it than actually be it. Because when I leave here, and after I talk to you and anybody else that's on the show, even if we're opposite ends of the spectrum, I actually end up on good terms with people that are a lot fucking different than I am. And they may even be pro-Trumpers, but they're not MAGA morons. You know what I mean? Please say that you know what I mean.
I do know. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. Have you ever noticed that everybody's doing the best they can at their basic level of understanding?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we should tolerate abuse or stupidity. But it helps me to remember when somebody does something really fucking stupid. It helps me to remember I would have done exactly what they did if I was thinking the way they're thinking.
See,
Now,
that's
that doesn't mean that I dismiss bad behavior or tolerate abuse, but it helps me be a little bit more empathetic when I realize they didn't say to themselves, "What could I absolutely do to screw things up?" They did the best they could in the moment with their level of understanding. That
okay.
was a good insight for me when I kind of figured that out.
So that's like passing or flunking an IQ test. I mean, everybody. So I don't know. That sounds a little esoteric to me. I get it. I understand what you're saying, but it's a little bit of a. Now
Well,
you are. Wait a minute.
I'll make it real.
Wait. You are an expert on how to utilize social media like LinkedIn, especially, right? Like, and how to expose yourself as an individual posting on there on LinkedIn to, helping you out, whatever. And the other thing that you're really an expert on, this is why I love you, is because not because you're nicer than I am, because pretty much everybody's nicer than I am, but you're an expert on know, like, and trust, and that to me is kind of the essence of what we have to get back to, training people how to be trustworthy so that people could know, like, and trust you. And I see that that's becoming or has become so nearly impossible because of media, all kinds of media, and a couple of things that are really a big problem in media is that a lot of media is controlled by a very few small groups of very wealthy, powerful people. The other
With
part,
agendas. Yeah.
the other part of it is that media is about, in order to stay in the game, you got to make money. So they've become propagandized.
Right.
Okay. So I am not the smartest guy in any room. Well, maybe this room because there's nobody else in here with me. But so, I'm the de facto smartest guy in this room. But outside of this room, I'm not,
Right.
I'm maybe slightly brighter than average, but I don't know. And I don't care but I really would like you to try to, like explain the very basic tools or function or requirements to create know, like, and trust, because you should be talking to the media and forget about politicians because I'm just going to say one political thing here. No, maybe two. That our current sitting president is plundering and pilfering and stealing on a scale that's only been seen in one other place, and that's Putin in Russia.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Because the only people that have money in Russia, other than a few, plebeians, but the truth is it's only him and his inner circle. And everything is built around that to protect it, whatever moat or army or lies or whatever, to protect that. So, we're living in the new American Russia, and it's not ideological. It's all just corruption and crime, stealing. You see, you could hate other dictators, but like even Xi is ideological because that's the way. Ever since they became a communist country, they're the best at ideology, and because of that, they can think out and do on a 100-year plan. We can't do it because we're worse than they are. We have more corruption, and we have more people in prison, and so I'm thinking, I'm like living life in the twilight zone now at this age in my career. So that's what I want to say about politics. So I would like you to really talk about, because it's a sensitive subject for me. Know, like, and trust.
Yeah. Sure. So back in the early 90s, I heard a guy named Bob Berg say this sentence: all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to people they know, like, and trust. And when I heard that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And I'm not trying to be dramatic, because it's like all of a sudden it made sense. I heard all things being equal, which means you have a viable product or service that's needed in the marketplace and it's fairly priced. That's all that means, all things being equal. It was the second half of the sentence that blew my mind. People will do business with and refer business to people they know, like, and trust. Now, because I'm simple, I heard that. I didn't read anything into it. I heard it purely. And I said, well, that's going to be the secret to success in whatever it is, whatever endeavor I choose to get involved with. All things being equal means I just need to become a student of my craft. But the know, like, trust thing, I said, I need to always be deepening my understanding of how to create sincere and authentic know, like, trust. So I got a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. You've probably heard of it. I normally have it right next to my desk, but it's still out in my SUV. So Dale Carnegie
Yep.
wrote this book called How to Win Friends and Influence People back in 1936. And I read it about 30 years ago, and I think the book has the wrong title. I don't think it should be called How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think it should just be called How to Get Along with People. And when you're living on a big blue ball with 7,999,999,999 other people, learning how to get along with other people would be a pretty good life skill. So I stand on stages all around the world and I talk to audiences, and pretty much always in the first 5 minutes, I say to the audience, would you agree with me that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to people they know, like, and trust? And everybody agrees with that. And then I say, well, then why am I here? You've already cracked the code. You've already figured out that all you got to do is be knowable, likable, and trustable, and you're going to succeed at whatever it is you want to do. And then they look at me like a deer in the headlights, because we can understand something intellectually, but that doesn't mean we understand how it works in the real world experientially. And the example I always give is I could read 100 books on how to ride a bicycle, but until I get my ass on a bicycle, it's all theory. It sounds good on paper, right? So I started studying how to win friends and influence people. And the very first principle in that book is don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
Those are my
And
favorite
I'd be
things.
lying. I know, I love it. So, and I'm not saying that I don't sometimes criticize, condemn, or complain. I do. I'm human just like everybody else. I just don't do it anywhere near as frequently as I used to. And when I do catch myself criticizing, condemning, or complaining, I stop faster and I laugh at myself, because I say, oh my God, I got tricked again. My crazy mind tricked me again, right? So I just started studying how to get along with other people. And it's really not that complicated, right? The challenge is most people take all of their thoughts so seriously that they get tied up in mental knots instead of just watching their thoughts the way they would watch a cat play with a ball of yarn.
That's an interesting analogy.
What? Yeah, I started looking at my thoughts and going, oh my God, some of these thoughts are really crazy. And some of them are smart and some of them make some sense. And I started realization that at any moment that I'm not feeling calm, peaceful awareness, it's probably only because I'm getting faked out by my thoughts. And then I laugh.
It sounds like it's a
'Cause I
lot of
go,
work,
oh my
though,
God, I fell for it again.
right? I mean,
Well, it isn't in the beginning it is, but it becomes ridiculously simple. Because all I do is, as I go through the day, I notice my feelings. Now, that doesn't mean every second I'm like, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? How am I feeling? How am I feeling? How am I? Most people operate from the moment they wake up in the morning till the moment they go to bed at night at a low level of discomfort. And sometimes not so low level. Sometimes it's high level. But because they for so long, they think that's just, they don't even think about it. Just like a fish doesn't think about water, the person that gets up pissed off and angry and all along they have grievances, they don't even question it anymore. But they weren't like that as a little kid.
Well,
So something changed.
let me ask you a couple of questions. I want to relate it to some of the things
My,
that
my
make me.
light is a little funky. Sorry, Alan.
That's right. No, some of the things that make me angry, and I think a lot of people angry, is the lack of truth and the abundance of propaganda, and
Right.
That concerns me, because when you have government that's just blatantly, and whatever, I mean, it could be in any other country, because every country's got their corrupt bullshit, Brazil, China, everywhere. But in our country, which we always thought was a little better than the other guys because of our, quote, freedom, now I just saw something, a blurb about the Department of Homeland Security is not going to let, or doesn't want, airlines to fly into sanctuary cities. Now, the whole thing about sanctuary cities is a whole nother problem, because that just takes, big cities that have enough difficulty managing their cities, make it everything worse. So, but the philosophies about truth doesn't matter anymore. The Supreme Court making rulings because they don't want to hear it from the president, or they're afraid the Army's going to enter the Supreme Court building and say, no, you're going to change your minds and do what the president says, otherwise we have to shoot you. I mean, it's so fucking dangerous and scary here, and I've never felt like this before. I mean, when you and I were growing up in New Jersey, riding bikes and, getting ice cream and maybe, getting a 25-cent beer at the local place that would serve underage people, it's just like, I don't know if I'm more scared than angry, actually, but it's so uncomfortable now. And I really think that, know, like, and trust is also kind of like treat this person the way you want to be treated, right?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
and
Well, that's what.
but now, with all the corruption, with all the fucking corruption out there, they're going to tell you, post the 10 Commandments in schools. But everything in Washington is like raping and pillaging and stealing. And I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Kevin, come on.
It is a crazy movie.
Yeah, so what do we, I mean, I need you to help me, whether you use the know, like, trust, or the treat thy others as you want to be treated. How do we get back toward going that way instead of the way we've gone?
Well, my answer is going to sound like a motivational speaker answer, and I'm not trying to be a motivational speaker. I pick my battles. I don't concern myself with things that I have no control over. So I can't change, and I don't want to change 8 billion people. I can only extend love to whoever's in my path. If I only if I'm just trying to control what I can control, I've really got nothing to worry about. I mean, I can see the world going crazy and all kinds of bad things happening. But if I have no ability to change that, me worrying about it is insane.
So how about if you took the word worry about it out of that sentence and
Yeah.
just say, I've noticed
That-
this kind of dilemma, and it appears to be pretty fucking serious, and maybe we need a little bit more know, like, and trust, kind of more like a really good preacher would do, but not a preacher that wants your money so he can buy a new jet. Like, you know,
Right.
we want a Moses type or a Jesus type, or somebody that, or even a group of little mini Jesuses walking around and trying to get people to say, "Hey, just treat other people the way you want to be treated."
Well, I think that's really all Jesus did, was he just loved people, but they killed him for it.
Yeah, and yeah, I get it. That's, I mean, and now there are masses of people that are so fucking apathetic and nauseous,
Yeah.
and then you have the other people that say, maybe if I keep following this moron, maybe
Yeah.
I'll get something good out of it. Now, that to me is a really bad decision, because it's not going to
Yeah.
happen. It can't happen. If if you don't know that there's certain people that want it all for themselves, like, something great happens to you and you get a check or cash for $1 million and you're like, I don't need this. I don't know what to do with it. I got enough of my own. I can do what I want. You would probably do something, maybe for conservation. You would take that money and say, I don't need this, but I love fishing, so I want it. You know what I mean? There's something that about not just taking, but about giving, which is also talked about in the Bible and in all these other things. And
Sure.
Jesus, Moses,
Well,
everybody.
but most people don't have things. The things have people. Most people don't have money. Money has people.
Right.
And that's a little poetic, what I'm saying. But anything you can't do without, by definition, has you,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, but that's just a simple misunderstanding of how the mind works.
Or addiction.
An addiction is also a misunderstanding of how the mind works. Because to the extent that you understand how your mind works, you will use it more effectively. An addiction is not effective.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I'm not saying you wave a magic wand and all of a sudden all your addictions go away. But an addiction is just a thought. It's like when people talk about overthinking. You can't overthink because you can only think one thought at a time. So overthinking is
So there
just,
is
it's
no,
not
I
really
smell wood burning. There's no, I smell wood burning.
So, because most people have very little understanding of how the mind and thought work, not because they're unintelligent, it's because we become more knowledgeable. Alan, would you agree with me?
Hang on one second. Ethan,
Sure.
I'm in the middle of a podcast and I'm talking to Kevin Knebel. So can I call you back? Everything okay?
Tell him I said hi.
Good. That's Ethan. He says
I
hello.
love that kid.
He says hello. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
So
No, it's totally okay. So my question is, would you agree with me, Alan, that people become more knowledgeable about things that they put time, focus, and attention on, and they remain less knowledgeable about things they don't put time, focus, and attention on? Would you agree with that?
yes,
Would you also agree that that is not a function of intelligence or lack thereof? It's purely a function of time, focus, and attention.
yes, but I want to now I'm really interested in what you're talking about, because you use three words: time, focus, attention, know, like, trust.
Correct. Right.
Something about the negative. Earlier on, you said corrupt. No, I don't know. There was another part of the conversation where you used three words,
Okay.
and you talk in 3-word increments, like your strategies and your thought process.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never really thought of that before, but you're right. You're right. I never really thought that until just now, that I tend to kind of work in 3-step
Yeah,
things.
even when you were talking about Dale Carnegie, there was something about
Oh, don't criticize, condemn, or complain.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So if you agree that people become more knowledgeable about things they put time, focus, and attention on, and they remain less knowledgeable about things they don't put time, focus, and attention on, which has nothing to do with them being smart or stupid. It's
right,
just time, focus, or attention. And then if you say, well, how much time, focus, and attention has the average person put on deepening their understanding of how the mind and thought works? And the answer to that is very little.
right, because they can't possibly have the time to do that. They
But
can't.
and the irony of ironies is every of your life is a classroom to just treat it like an experiment and start noticing, oh, Trump did this and I'm all pissed off. But there's other people that aren't pissed off. So by definition, Trump doing this or not doing this or that has no ability to affect you unless it passes through mind and thought. Because if what Trump does has the ability to cause a sensation in you, then similar to gravity, every time I drop this, it goes down. Gravity doesn't care if I'm male or female, if I'm in Colorado or New Jersey, if I identify as a farm animal. Gravity doesn't care.
Right.
Gravity only works one way, right? And and the mind only works one way. But the challenge is most people don't know that. The proof of that would be there's over 400 different schools and modalities of psychology, which proves that they're all those psychologists are fucked up. Because if they really understood how the mind worked, there wouldn't be 400. Are there 400 kinds of gravity? No, there's only one. Gravity only works one way. And the mind and thought only work one way also. But even the psychologists don't understand it. But there are those of us that do. But that's not arrogance. I'm not being arrogant. I've just put a lot more time, focus, and attention on learning how mind and thought works than even the psychologists do. So
Don't
I feel like
send
I'm
me a
kind of
fuck.
rambling right
Do
now.
not send me a fucking bill for this conversation.
So let me say one more thing, and then I'm going to shut up for a second. I came to a realization about 10 or 15 years ago. And that realization was that my natural state as a human is calm, peaceful awareness. That's easily provable, actually. So then I started asking myself, if my natural state is calm, peaceful awareness, what could possibly cause me to not be in my natural state? And I came to the realization there's only one answer to that question. It's not understanding thought. Because once I start feeling agitated, that's the evidence that I'm taking my thoughts way too seriously and it's disturbing my natural, calm, peaceful awareness. So let me pause there. I said a lot. What did you
Yeah,
hear in that,
now
Alan?
you just scared the shit out of me because I'm not as aware as you are about you. Maybe I should be more concerned about my awareness of me. Thank God I got to this age by luck. But always talking to you is fascinating because you do see things much more simply than I see them. Because I have a different judgment system. and yours is, like, you view yourself as the sky in your brain, and stuff passes through, like the.
Right.
But in my world, I'm driving in a car
Mm.
with the top down or the sunroof open, and some Canadian geese fly over my head and shit all over me. So, like,
I'm not saying that wouldn't upset me.
uh, boy, and it doesn't smell good either. But
Right.
I will say that I have a different chemistry than you do, and there's billions, as you said, different people out there, and some of it is nature, some of it is nurture, and that have all these, and there's so many different variables and things that could affect one throughout their lifetime.
Yeah. Right.
And so I try to be very authentic. I try to be not judgmental, but I do get angry and frustrated because I can't see myself as a pass-through entity. And I'm not trying to sit in judgment. I'm just not a pass-through entity. Now, people have said to me, "You got nothing between your ears," which would kind of make you feel like you're a pass-through entity. But, it's just like, I a lot of people don't see me as nice, but I really, if I had a lot, I would just give a lot. I don't,
No,
could
you're one of the nicest guys I know, and I'm not saying that to blow smoke up your
no, I know,
ass.
but I have
You
very
you are
good.
a very kind, loving man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I have this other part of me that is opinionated and strong-willed, and and occasionally it makes trouble for me. So I've come to the conclusion that, as I go forward in the world and age, I'll take it as I put it. If I put it out there and I get, slapped down,
Yeah.
I'll just take it. I mean, and I'll have to say, does it really matter? Should I really allocate like it's 30% me or 90% me? No, it is what it is, and I got to move forward.
And let me ask you a question, Alan. And you may or may not remember, and I say this all the time on stage to the audience, I never ask trick questions. But the reason I put that out there is because often my questions are so simple that people think I'm trying to trick them, but I'm not trying to trick them. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question. It's not a trick question. Okay. Are you your thoughts?
And the answer to that is occasionally.
Okay.
I don't know, but
Thank
I
you
could
for your
tell.
honesty. Yeah.
I
Thank you
could
for your
tell
honesty.
you that there
So,
are
so
times.
I'm going to make a suggestion. Okay. I have no interest in trying to create a belief system. I have no interest in trying to convert people to my way of thinking, but I have a huge interest in alleviating suffering. Okay. I'm going to say something, but I'm not going to ask you to believe me at all. I'm just going to ask you to experiment in your own life. Don't believe a word I'm saying. Go experiment for yourself. And I'm going to say, you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. The moment you forget that, and most people forget it 1,000 times a day, the moment you forget that you are not your thoughts, you are the observer of your thoughts, you will identify with the thought and you will start to feel angry. Because you're not seeing the thought for what it is. It's just a fucking thought. Okay? I'm not minimizing it's as powerful as a nuclear bomb. I'm just saying when you go to a movie theater and you sit in a dark room with 100 other people and stare at a wall, how is the projection on the wall creating a feeling inside of your mind? Sitting in a dark room, we forget that we're sitting in a dark room watching a movie. We go to the movie theater to be entertained and to have an experience. But in reality, we're just sitting in a dark room staring at a wall. But we go to see a Tom Cruise movie, and when he jumps off the cliff, we feel all the adrenaline. And what's really going on is we're identifying with the movie. That, and I'm not saying that's bad. It's actually good. That's why you went to the movie theater. But you're just watching a movie. Well, you're doing the same thing 24 hours a day. You just don't realize it. You're watching the Judgment movie. You're watching I can't believe Trump did this movie. Oh, I can't believe they still haven't released the Epstein files, so let's distract us by pretending we're going back to the moon movie. Right? All this bullshit. It's all bullshit. And when we start to see that it's all just a movie, we start to laugh at the movie because we're like, why did I take this so damn serious? I'm not saying that there aren't repercussions for actions in the world. Of course there are. But I'm saying we don't take it all so damn seriously at a certain point. We start to realize, holy shit, we got 8 billion people sleepwalking through life, thinking that life is doing this to them or doing that to them, and it's not. They're just taking their thoughts so seriously that it's causing illnesses in their physical body. It's really kind of sad. If somebody had just taught us when we were kids, you know, you're going to have a lot of thoughts. Don't take them all so damn serious, because another one will be along in 5 seconds.
It's kind of like an appetite.
And yeah. So I kind of run around the world and I look at people. This is going to sound really horrible when I say it this way. I don't mean this in a horrible way. I realize that if somebody's not in a general state of calm, peaceful awareness, they've just been hijacked by their thoughts, but they don't realize it.
Okay. And
I look at it as my job to kind of gently tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, you are alive. You won the universal lottery. You are not a tree. You are not a rock. You are a beautiful divine creation of God, designed for greatness and worthy of the desires of your heart. Let's figure out what you want in life, and then let's figure out a plan to go help you get it. And let's not get distracted by all this other bullshit.
Okay, so Larry David, you're familiar with his humor?
The Larry David's theme song from Curb Your Enthusiasm was my ringtone on my phone for almost 20 years.
Okay. So
I worship Larry David.
So interesting, like some great lines came from his mouth. And I think about each episode, and I think about how kooky he is, and I think about how true so much of this, like, he'll just say stuff that is offensive, but it's not meant to be, because that's just like his authenticity in his questions or in his.
That's the genius of it.
Yeah. And so I think about you, and you're a naturalist, you're a conservationist, you're a fisherman, you like to be out in nature, and you got this bozos all over Washington saying, no, we'll just take Yosemite Park and, drill for oil, and we'll pollute the rivers, and we'll silence the geysers, and whatever, whatever their craziness is. So you know, there's this no like and trust and all these other 3-word advisory reports that you put out. And I'm thinking to myself, the fuck? How would a guy like you, who's so calm and peaceful, how could you take the perversion and destruction of beautiful nature and not speak out about it by just letting it pass through you as the sky?
Well, I pick my bat. Uh, um, I have very little control over what Washington is going to do with Colorado
Right,
fishing water,
right,
right? So now if I decide that that's going to be a cause that I'm going to put a lot of time, focus, and attention on, there's the 3 things again,
right.
right? I have to ask myself, I only have so much time in the day. I have certain things I'm trying to accomplish in my life. Is it important enough for me to put time, focus, attention on the conservation thing?
Right.
And if it is, then I do. If it's not, then I don't.
Okay. And you also have the alternative, I guess, the modified approach by saying, yeah, I'll send my $10 a month in because I'm too busy, but I like the
I
cause,
should do that.
right? So was Jesus an activist or just a do-gooder or what?
How did we get to Jesus?
No, I'm just, you know, because all of these things are kind of commingled with how am I better at relating to people? How am I better at helping people achieve what they want to achieve? And, you know, that's kind of prophetic, right? Like, not that you're some genius prophet going to stand on the stage and endow everybody with those abilities, but you talk about ways to succeed in communicating. So
You know what I think I really do? Can I tell you what I really think I do? What I really do is I run around the world and I basically remind people that there was a time when they weren't such an asshole.
bingo.
And and I try to use humor when I'm waking them up to that fact that, hey Bob, hey Mary, there was a time in your life when you weren't so cynical and you didn't you just you kind of loved life and you loved people more, but then you innocently started to drink the Kool-Aid that life sucks and I got to get the other guy before the other guy gets me. And you started to buy into that. And then I come along and I go, it's all about no like trust. And you nod politely, but you I'm just bringing people. You know what? I was having lunch yesterday with a business owner and he was saying to me, he was giving me a lot of compliments about the way I show up in the world. And I thanked him, but I said, you know, I think all I have going for me is I've got gray in my beard and I'm older now, but I have not lost my childlike sense of wonder and amazement and joy. Could you imagine being like an 8-year kid, but having the life knowledge and the life lessons of a 60-year-old man? So I feel like a little tiny kid in an older guy's body, and it's great.
And my
It's awesome.
sons are exactly the opposite. They're old men in young bodies. You know, so you know,
I
Kev,
love your sons. I love your
and
sons.
they love you, and I love you, and you know, one of these days we're going to do a show from Rutt's Hut, me and you, and you could talk about how happy and nice you are. You could talk about how happy and nice you are, and I could talk about how angry and old and crotchety I am.
Well, hopefully I'm not coming across as me talking about how happy and nice I am.
No, well, I don't want.
I'm just sharing that once I started to understand how my mind and thought work, life became a lot easier.
That's the key point. That's the key point of our conversation. That's why you're on the show, and that's why you're Kevin Knebel, the communicator and the specialist of know, like, and trust. And those other
I think
three.
I'm just a reminder. I'm just reminding people, hey,
Do me a
you used to
favor.
be this douchebag. What happened? What happened?
Just send me the a one page, like a legal pad. No, like, trust. You suck. He sucks. She sucks. Whatever. All three. The 3-word collaborations of. Because maybe just using.
People just want to be happy. The challenge is they think happiness is going to be found in an acquisition, a relationship, a certain amount in their bank account. I mean, if money made people happy, rich people would never commit suicide.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that money is money's bad.
No, I get it.
No,
I get it.
See, people often think that I'm trying to promote some belief system or some philosophy. I'm not. What I'm really doing is I'm just explaining how something works. Every time I drop this, it goes down.
Okay, so
That is not a belief system.
next
That is
week.
not a philosophy.
Next week, I want you to explain how I don't work or why I
I
don't
can
work.
do it right now.
No,
I can
I'm
do it
gonna
right
get
now.
I'm gonna
I
get
actually-
kicked
I-
out of
I
my
actually
studio
did.
time. They're gonna kick me out soon. I
I
think
can
how
do it in
long?
10 seconds. I can do it in 10 seconds.
Go ahead.
I actually did it 20 minutes ago. The only challenge people have is they don't recognize thought as thought. They think thought is reality. The sky is not the cloud. The cloud comes and goes, but the sky is always there. Sky never is affected by the clouds. People think they are their thoughts. They are not their thoughts. They are the observer of their thoughts.
So they're the
If
sky.
you want to do another program,
They're the
if you want
sky.
to do another program and
Yeah.
let me unpack it more, I can do that.
Yeah, they're this. We're all the sky, and the thoughts are just passing through us. I get it. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. By the way, call me over the weekend.
Love you, man.
All right, call me over the weekend.
Okay,
How are your folks? How are your
They're
folks?
doing a lot better, thanks.
Good. All right, man. I'll talk to you. Say hi to Elizabeth.
Okay.